What's going on, YouTube fam? It's your boy, the wisest and most powerful of all nerds, Remixes. Today we'll be going over my top 10 remixed classic video game themes. What I currently define as classic is anything that came out in the Nintendo 64's day or prior. And to qualify as a remix, it had to have received a remix in the Gamecube era or after. It's 2018 and I wrote this article way back in 2016. It's one of the very first scripts that I wrote for my YouTube channel. In fact, I think it was second. It's funny that I got around to doing this project so late, which will be the case for a lot of videos that I do in 2018. Before I move forward, I want to remind you guys that you can purchase King Kamara t-shirts, long sleeves, and hoodies of different designs on Teespring. And if you like, you can look me up on Patreon to view some of my content early, as well as other bonuses. So without further ado, let's get to it. Street Fighter Ryu theme. Widely considered as the greatest fighting video game franchise of all time, Street Fighter took consoles and arcades worldwide by storm, providing players with a crisp and fleshed 2D fighting system. The musical numbers featured in the franchise were perfect for head-to-head battles, absolutely perfect for matching the action that was in the game. The most frequently heard theme, often confused with the main theme, is actually the same theme as the main character called Ryu. The Ryu theme has several renditions throughout the franchise history, but most not quite as captivating as the original. When Street Fighter made its first successful jump into the 3D landscape with Street Fighter 4, while the soundtrack still wasn't a fan favorite amongst fans or as colorful as some iterations within the series, the composers still outdone themselves making up-to-date themes for all of the characters, especially the techno remix of Ryu's theme. Metroid Brinstar Talent Overworld theme. In the late 80s, Metroid was one of the premier side-scrolling platformer shooters for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Funny how most of these themes originated from side-scrolling games. The game featured the first playable heroine in the Nintendo franchise and possibly video game history itself, Samus Aran. A surprise that players would not have found unless they finished beating the game. Samus Aran wore a special weaponized space armor called the Phazon suit, which was given to her by an intergalactic species called Talons. This suit allows her to shoot energy beams, missiles, run at great speeds, and shapeshift into a ball, among other things. Upon beating the game, Samus Aran discards her Phazon armor, revealing to the player that she's actually a female. As soon as the game officially starts, players were introduced to a theme to have become a staple in almost every Metroid game throughout the series. But the most drastic change to the Brinstar theme also came with the most drastic change in the franchise as well. In the early 2000s, the Metroid series made a giant leap into the three-dimensional landscape. And not only that, but changed itself from a side-scrolling shooter into a first-person shooter. Metroid Prime stands as one of the most remarkable changes to any video game franchise in the history of gaming, which offers some of the most profound first-person shooting action, intricate puzzle solving, as well as offering some of the best graphics seen on any console up until the beginning of the HD gaming age. Shortly into the game, players find themselves located in the main hub of the game, which is the Talent Overworld, which is one of several large sections that can be found within the game. Players really see raindrops and mist collect on the visor of Samus Aran's helmet, as well as organic life crawling around them, which is the best way to describe the Brinstar theme in this game. Organic. The overall talent theme in Metroid shows exactly what Retro Studios did to the franchise, truly bring it to life. Pokemon Red and Blue Wild Encounter and X and Y Legendary theme. Pokemon Red and Blue originally debuted in the US in 1997, roughly the same time as its anime counterpart release, immediately taking the world by storm as part of Nintendo and Game Freak's master plan of world domination. It wasn't until Pokemon became the second largest video game franchise on the market, an addictive and unique RPG that implemented strategy and non-turn-based battle system. A game that is a perfect mess of adventure, discovery, and battling. Very shortly after starting the game, you were introduced to the Wild Pokemon Encounter theme, which, like most of the music featured in the game, is simplistic and repetitive in overall design. The Wild Encounter themes drastically changed throughout each generation of Pokemon. The Wild Pokemon Encounter theme in Red and Blue never resurfaced until its update in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Actually, I'm wrong, it got renditions in those versions as well as the Gold and Silver and Heart Gold and Soul Silver games respectively. But in 2013, Nintendo released Pokemon X and Y, the first fully fleshed out 3D Pokemon adventure game for the handheld. And while the music in X and Y is vastly different than its predecessors Red and Blue, fans were treated with a throwback of the old Pokemon Red and Blue Wild Encounter theme when facing off against Kanto legendary Pokemon that was featured within the game. A theme that players can also choose to play while engaging in local or Wi-Fi battles with other players. Well, for the first 50 seconds or so, it seemed like it was an original track that was made for the 6th generation of Pokemon. Then it switches to tempo and gives us a reimagining of the old classic Wild Encounter theme. I also talk about this theme in my top 20 Pokemon themes video. You can click here to watch that as well. Star Fox Star Wolf theme. Star Wolf and Wolf O'Donnell is the arch rival of the protagonist team Star Fox, led by Fox McCloud in the Star Fox series. Making their debut in 1997, a Nintendo 64 release of Star Fox 64, Star Wolf immediately became some of the most well-loved antagonists amongst Nintendo's franchise, and perhaps became more so than even the main series antagonist Andross. Whenever Star Wolf appears within the game, the theme will automatically change from its current level's theme into the infamous Star Wolf score, immediately letting the player know that things were about to go down and that their mission just got a lot harder. A musical number that is akin to Star Wars that has something of a jazz feel to it. It's very memorable among fans. However, it got its most notable upgrade in the series in the most recent released Star Fox Zero game that came out last year for the Wii U. This version of Star Wolf theme had a much more epic and dramatic feel to it.
Come on! I have you in my sights. You've no escape.
Sounding more as if it was played by an orchestra and allows the player to feel as if they're in a much more high-stakes dogfight. Fire Emblem Awakening main theme. A theme that was featured the most in all Fire Emblem games. Fire Emblem theme was primarily played either during the opening theme or a cutscene that plays shortly after the game's home screen when idle. Fire Emblem Awakening, of course, took the opportunity to remix the Fire Emblem main theme, and for the first time in the series that I can remember at least, correct me if I'm wrong, the main theme was played during the actual gameplay. The tempo of the main theme, as well as other music from the game, changed from the overhead view of the map when battles are engaged between characters. During the overview sections of missions, the theme will play in a mellow tone, but once battles were enacted, the tempo will heighten and directly rise into a crescendo. A great new feature that was added and also managed to slightly enhance the gameplay. Unlike other games in the franchise, where the battling theme will be completely different than the theme played on the world map. Next we have Zelda's Lullaby and Ballad of the Winds. Why are there two songs, you ask? Well, let Brian Music break it down for you. Zelda's Lullaby's melody first made its appearance in The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past back in the early 90s. It's one of the most heartfelt scores in all of gaming that will never fail to melt your heart no matter how many times you heard it. Ever since it debuted, it's been featured in virtually every single Zelda game to come after it, including what would have been my favorite innovation of Zelda's Lullaby that came before the year 2000, which was the ending theme of Ocarina of Time, a song I cannot help but cry every time I hear. Please take a listen. However, in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, legendary composer Koji Kondo takes Zelda's Lullaby and plays it in reverse. And instead of using a singular or handful of instruments to play the original melody, Koji Kondo uses an entire orchestra to give us the main theme that is grand and magnificent in nature, plus a degree or two more in depth than its original incarnate. I also go over this theme in my top 20 Zelda theme video. You can click here to check out that video as well. F-Zero GX Big Blue Game. Originally debuting on the SNES, F-Zero was a game about futuristic racing featuring the main character Captain Falcon. F-Zero also provided spectacular tracks, and this video game track was played on the Big Blue course, a very challenging and water-oriented course that players had to race at the end of the Grand Prix. F-Zero GX was released on the Gamecube in 2003. Nintendo game developers took everything that we loved about the franchise and amplified it tenfold. F-Zero GX offered for the first time in the series a story mode, customizable vehicles, and 40 different characters, 20 racetracks to choose from, as well as being able to use your GameCube memory card to play with in the arcade version. F-Zero GX is an incredibly fast-paced racing game that's still unique and is unlike anything else on the market to this very day, and still is one of the most challenging games to fully complete to this very day. The Big Blue course also makes its return in this game by entering a cheat code that can only be found via strategy guides. Players were given an exhilarating remix to a very class fan favorite in the Big Blue game, which fantastically and symbiotically matches the fast-paced and heart-racing gameplay of the game as well as the race course. Take a listen. Super Mario Bowser's Road. In the mid-1990s, Mario made his epic leap from 2D platforming into what is considered the father of all 3D platform games, Super Mario 64. This game is a paragon example of how to reinvent a character in a franchise. Describing the detail of Super Mario 64 is the very essence of describing its 3D platforming in and of itself. Super Mario 64 brought nearly everything that Mario fans love from the old 2D games, and then some, with his flagship launch title on the Nintendo 64. Also being one of the games that is representative of Koji Kondo's greatness on the N64. The most celebrated theme of the game came in the form of Bowser's Road, an alternative to Bowser's Castle theme that was seen in previous games. This theme was featured on 3 different levels in Super Mario 64, and the musical score injects the player with the feeling of anticipation and the challenge that lies ahead. 3D platforming and gaming severely struggled after the release of Super Mario 64 for the most part, and almost completely died in the beginning of the HD era. At its lowest point in popularity, it was single-handedly brought back to life with the release of Super Mario Galaxy. And while Bowser's Road did see an amazing reappearance in the first Super Mario Galaxy, its most notable rendition came out of Super Mario Galaxy 2, where the Bowser's Road theme received an orchestrated overhaul, creating an aura of high stakes and epicness, and symbolizes the improvements made from the 64 era towards the eclipse of the Nintendo Wii U. Sonic the Hedgehog Greenhill Zone. One of the most beloved video game characters of all time, and neck in popularity in the early 1990s with Mario, Sonic the Hedgehog made his debut in 1991 with his first game, you guessed it, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog was a side-scroller unlike anything of its time, focusing on fast-paced platforming and speed. While Sonic the Hedgehog was a franchise that has seen some bad years over the course of his life, the series has always managed to produce enjoyable music. In the very first level of the game, it features the highly esteemed Greenhill Zone, a very upbeat and energizing sound that embodies the character that is Sonic. It is one of the most recognizable and beloved video game themes in all of history. One of the most well-received Sonic games in the past few years, Sonic Generations, also features the tune in 2 variations. The tune is going to be featured in this video, however, it's going to be the remix that is used during the classic Sonic portion of Greenhill Zone. Very reminiscent of the original without the synthetic, but replaces the synthetic with a more instrumental sound and a more lively approach to fit the HD era. Kirby Adventures Butter Building. Created by Masahiro Sakurai and debuting in the 90s, Kirby's is one of the many revered pioneers of side-scrolling and platforming. A smash hit among fans, Kirby Adventures for the NES had a lot to offer to the player. Being the first Kirby game that allowed players to copy abilities from enemies they devoured and tackle each and every level in various ways. One of the most iconic levels in the entire game is Butter Building, which is accompanied by an amazing tune which will guarantee to make you bob your head and get you in a good mood. Like other games mentioned on this list, Kirby had plenty of iterations and remixes of Butter Building. However, unlike others on this list, The preferred remix came from outside the Kirby franchise, but from another franchise created by Masahiro Sakurai. Butter Building made its most prolific remix in the Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Nintendo Wii. The remix possesses the essence of the original roots, but goes a little left field and adds a Rockstar theme that makes great background music for thrilling battles. That wraps up my top 10 list of remix classic video game themes. Do you agree with my list? Do you think I left anything out? Let me know in the comments below. Please hit that like button and subscribe, for it will help my channel out a great deal. And if you truly like what you see, share this video, and don't forget to check out my other top 10 videos on my channel. Buy a King Kamara shirt if you want to walk in the image of Remixes. And aside from that, you know what it is. It's your boy Remixes, the wisest and most powerful of all nerds. I will see you guys next time with more top 10 videos.